The rhythmic beeping of NASA's Deep Space Monitoring System was the only sound in the otherwise silent laboratory at 3:27 a.m. Dr. Jessica Miller rubbed her tired eyes, regretting her decision to pull another all-nighter. The coffee had long since gone cold, but she reached for it anyway, only to freeze mid-motion as the beeping pattern suddenly changed. "That's not right," she muttered, fingers flying across the keyboard. The atmospheric disturbance readings were unlike anything she'd seen before. Massive energy signatures appearing and disappearing in perfect geometric patterns around the globe. Her phone buzzed. Text messages were flooding in from colleagues worldwide. Beijing, London, Moscow. Everyone was seeing the same thing. The lab's emergency line rang, making her jump. Dr. Miller speaking. "Doctor, this is General Richards at NORAD. Are you seeing what we're seeing? If you mean the impossible energy readings that break every known law of physics, then yes," she replied, switching her main screen to a global view. "They're appearing in a pattern that..." She stopped, her blood running cold. "Oh God." "Doctor, the pattern. It's a hunting formation." Years studying predator behavior patterns hadn't gone to waste. Look at how they're positioning themselves. It's exactly how wolves surround their prey before attacking. A new signal cut through every communication channel on Earth. The lab's speakers crackled with a voice that seemed to scrape against the inside of Jessica's skull. "Species of Earth, hear the words of High Hunter Vakrin of the Crick's Third Dominion. You are honored to be chosen as our 300th hunt. Your primitive defenses and isolated development make you perfect prey for our traditional coming-of-age ceremony. Resistance is permitted. It makes the hunt more sporting." Jessica was already moving, grabbing her laptop and research drives. The voice continued as she ran for her car. "As is customary, you have one planetary rotation to prepare. Use it well. The more challenging the hunt, the more honor in the kill." The sky above New York lit up as massive ships materialized through what looked like tears in reality itself. Similar reports flooded in from every major city, but Jessica barely noticed. She was too focused on the data streaming across her laptop screen. "Command, are you seeing this?" She spoke into her phone, now patched directly to NORAD. "Their energy signatures, they're not just similar to terrestrial apex predators. They're identical, just scaled up. These aliens evolved as ambush predators, like big cats." "And that helps us how, Doctor?" Jessica's car screeched around a corner, heading for the nearest military base. "Because every predator has blind spots, weaknesses built into their hunting patterns. If they really evolved as ambush predators, they'll have the same limitations. They'll be adapted for short, powerful bursts of activity. Limited stamina, difficulty tracking multiple targets." She could hear the general barking orders in the background. "Get me everything you have on predator hunting patterns. I want." The call cut off as something massive descended through the clouds above Manhattan. Jessica's car skidded to a halt as she stared up at what could only be described as a living nightmare. The alien ship looked like a cross between a manta ray and a tiger, all sleek lines and lethal grace. Smaller shapes were dropping from it, moving with terrifying speed between the skyscrapers. Her phone reconnected. "Doctor, you still there?" "Yes," she said, watching as military helicopters began to rise from various points in the city. "But we need to move fast. They're starting early." "Thought we had 24 hours. Jessica's grip tightened on the steering wheel as she accelerated toward the base. They lied. Because that's what predators do. They're testing us, watching how we react to false information. She allowed herself a grim smile. But they don't realize something crucial. What's that? They think we're prey. But humans, we're predators too. And we've had a lot more practice at it. Captain Mike Hawkeye Thompson crouched behind an overturned city bus, his hand raised in a silent signal to his unit. Chicago's usually bustling Michigan Avenue had become a killing field in the last 6 hours. The difference was, it wasn't humans doing the dying anymore. Just like Fallujah, he whispered to himself, watching the alien hunter stalk down the street, except uglier. The creature moved like liquid death, its iridescent armor shifting colors to match its surroundings. But Thompson hadn't earned his nickname by letting camouflage fool him. He could see the subtle distortions in the air, the way light bent wrong around the alien's edges. "Martinez, you still got eyes on the second one," he whispered into his comm. "Affirm, Cap. Bastards trying to flank us through Macy's. These things hunt in pairs, just like the doc said." Thompson allowed himself a tight smile. Dr. Miller's insight about their predatory nature had saved countless lives in the first wave. The aliens were lethal, yes, but predictable. They followed patterns hardwired into them by evolution. "Execute pattern Charlie on my mark," he ordered, watching the primary target move closer. The trap was almost ready. A civilian scream pierced the air, genuine terror from one of the volunteer bait teams. Right on schedule, the alien's head snapped toward the sound, its whole body tensing like a cat about to pounce. Now, the fleeing civilians dropped flat. Simultaneously, Thompson's Marines launched their assault from multiple directions. The alien spun, trying to track too many threats at once. Its neural architecture, evolved for focusing on single prey, couldn't process the coordinated attack. The creature let out a shriek as bullets found gaps in its armor. Not military-grade rounds, but custom loads developed in the past few hours by a retired ballistics expert in Thompson's unit. The alien staggered, purple blood spraying. Second target moving. Martinez called out. It's abandoning the hunt to help its partner. Just like the doc predicted, Thompson grinned. Spring the backup trap. The second alien charged straight into a web of high-tension cables, salvaged from construction sites. At their speeds, even alien armor couldn't prevent the cables from slicing deep. The creature screamed, a sound that made everyone's teeth hurt, as it thrashed in the trap. Thompson moved in for the kill, his team maintaining disciplined fire from multiple angles. The first alien was down, its armor finally breached in too many places. The second was weakening, its struggles growing desperate. That's when Thompson saw it. The look in the dying creature's eyes. The same look he'd seen in predators' eyes in combat zones around the world. The moment they realized they'd become prey. "Holy shit," Martinez breathed, seeing it too. They can feel fear. The second alien's death scream carried something new, something that made Thompson's spine tingle. These weren't just screams of pain. They were screams of terror. His radio crackled. "Captain Thompson, this is Dr. Miller. Please tell me you got that audio." "Every decibel, Doc. Your theory was right. They've never failed a hunt before. Never been prey. They don't know how to handle it." "Perfect. And the neural overload tactic." Thompson looked at the fallen aliens, their armor still shifting colors even in death. "Worked exactly like you said. They can't track multiple threats effectively, get too many angles of attack, and their brains short-circuit. Incoming transmission from the mothership," his comm officer called out. The alien voice was different now, less arrogant, more uncertain. "This sector is deemed problematic. Additional hunters will be deployed to correct this anomaly." Thompson caught movement on a rooftop. Steve Roberts, the high school football coach who turned his entire neighborhood into a resistance cell, was signaling. More hunters were dropping into the city. "Let them come," Thompson said, reloading his weapon. "Every time they send more, we learn more. And we're learning a lot faster than they are." He looked at his team. Marines, civilians, even a few cops, all working together with practiced precision. The aliens thought they were hunting primitive prey. Instead, they'd stumbled into the territory of the most dangerous predators Earth had ever produced. Humans who'd spent millennia perfecting the art of warfare. "Time for round 2, Thompson grinned. "Let's show these aliens why you don't hunt the hunters." Master Sergeant Amanda Walker had seen her share of hell during her years in Special Forces. But watching an alien hunter slaughter its way through a Denver shopping mall, that was a new kind of nightmare. until she noticed something odd. "Hold position," she whispered to her team, watching the creature through her scope. The hunter was devastating when focusing on individual targets, but something about its movements caught her attention. Each time it engaged, it completely ignored everything else. Her radio crackled. "Sergeant Walker, this is Dr. Miller. I'm patching in from the command bunker below you." "Kind of busy here, Doc," Walker muttered, tracking the alien's movement patterns. "I need you to test something. Your team is the closest to what we're seeing in the data. These hunters, they're showing signs of neural overload when tracking multiple threats," Walker finished. "Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. They're perfect killers, but only against one target at a time." She paused, an idea forming. "Doc, what's the processing speed of their brains?" "Based on captured specimens, incredibly fast for single target acquisition. But they can't multitask worth a damn," Walker grinned. "Private Chen, remember that routine we used in Damascus? The one with the multiple target switches. The one that made those cartel snipers go cross-eyed. On it, Sarge." Walker's team moved like ghosts through the mall's upper level, taking precise positions. Below, the alien was moving toward a group of trapped civilians in a department store. Time to test her theory. Execute. Her team opened fire from 6 different positions simultaneously, not trying to penetrate the alien's armor, just creating threat patterns. The hunter spun, trying to track all the sources of danger. Its movements became jerky, uncoordinated. "Doc, you seeing this?" "Every second." Miller's voice was excited. "Its neural patterns are spiking erratically. Their brains evolved for perfect killing efficiency, but sacrificed flexibility. They literally can't process multiple complex threats simultaneously." The alien staggered, its color-shifting armor flickering as its brain struggled to handle the overload. Walker's team maintained disciplined fire, switching positions in a carefully choreographed dance that forced the creature to constantly reassess threats. "Command, this is Dr. Miller. Message to all units. We've confirmed tactical pattern Delta 7 effectiveness. Multiple simultaneous engagement points cause neural disruption in Krixthur hunters. Sharing video feed from Denver team now." The alien finally collapsed, its systems overwhelmed. Not from physical damage, from information overload. As Walker's team moved to secure the area, her radio picked up chatter from around the globe. Other units were reporting similar successes using coordinated multi-vector attacks. Then the mall's emergency screens crackled to life. The alien commander, Vukrin, appeared. But something was different. The arrogance was gone from his posture. "This is unprecedented." His translated voice carried an edge of confusion. "You are adapting to our methods at an impossible rate. Your neural architecture should not allow for such rapid tactical evolution." Walker smiled grimly as she secured the fallen hunter's weapons. "That's because you don't understand what humans are, you oversized lizard. We're not just fighters. We're teachers." As if to prove her point, she could hear Dr. Miller broadcasting detailed instructions to resistance cells worldwide, explaining the neural overload tactic in terms anyone could understand. From military units to civilian militias, humans were learning, adapting, and sharing information faster than the aliens could counter. "Sergeant," Miller's voice returned, "I need your team to bring that intact specimen to the bunker. If their neural systems are this specialized, there might be other weaknesses we can exploit." Walker was already moving her team toward the secure elevator. "Roger that. But Doc, there's something else you should see in this footage. When we overloaded its neural network, the hunter didn't just fail. It panicked." She could hear the satisfaction in Miller's voice. "Exactly. They're not just losing their tactical advantage. They're losing their identity as apex predators. Every time we turn their hunts against them, we're not just defeating them physically. We're breaking them psychologically," Walker finished. "And if there's one thing humans understand better than hunting, it's fear," Miller agreed. And now they're learning what it feels like to be the ones afraid. Lieutenant Colonel James Mad Dog Martins watched the elite Krixthur Shadow Strike team descend on Los Angeles through his binoculars. These weren't like the previous hunters. Their movements were different, more calculated, more precise. Their armor seemed to bend light itself, making them nearly invisible. "Sir," his comm officer whispered, "they're jamming our frequencies. Standard counters aren't working." Martinez lowered his binoculars and smiled. "Good thing we planned for that." He switched to a handheld radio, technology so old it was new again. "All units, execute Operation Urban Jungle, just like we drilled." The aliens had expected to find panicked humans running through the streets. Instead, they found a ghost town. The entire downtown had been transformed into a maze of death. Every skyscraper, every alley, every subway entrance had been fortified, according to centuries of urban warfare doctrine. "Confirm visual on primary target," Martins radioed. Krithak himself. "Ugly bastards got golden armor." Krithak, the legendary hunter who'd supposedly never failed a hunt, was leading his elite team straight into the trap. The Shadow Strike unit moved with liquid grace through the streets, their advanced stealth systems making them nearly undetectable. Nearly. Now, Martinez ordered. The first part of their trap was brutally simple. Fire trucks, positioned hours ago, unleashed torrents of water into the streets. The aliens' light-bending camouflage flickered as water droplets outlined their forms. "Sir," the comm officer reported, "Team Echo reports their motion sensors are getting solid reds now. The water's giving us targeting solutions." Krithak realized the trap too late. His team was already spread out, following standard Krixthur hunting formations. But humans had been fighting in cities since they invented cities. Every window potentially held a sniper. Every doorway could conceal an ambush. "They're falling back to secondary hunting patterns," Martinez observed, just like the captured intel suggested. "Release the drones." Hundreds of small commercial drones, modified with simple paint payloads, filled the air. The Shadow Strike team's advanced targeting systems, designed for lethal combat, were overwhelmed by the swarm of non-threatening targets. As they tried to track the drones, snipers positioned in the buildings began taking precise shots. "Sir, Krithak is adapting. He's ordered his team to move underground." Martinez grinned. "Perfect. Signal the Metro team." The Los Angeles subway system had been prepared for just this scenario. As the aliens moved into the tunnels, they found themselves in a maze that had been specifically redesigned to disorient their hunting instincts. Every turn led to another choice, another potential ambush. "They're splitting up," the comm officer reported. "Krithak's taking his personal guard topside. Rest are staying underground. Right into the kill zones," Martinez nodded. "Execute Phase 3. The underground team never stood a chance. Decades of gang warfare had taught LAS defenders every trick for fighting in tunnels. The aliens' superior technology meant nothing in the cramped dark spaces where humans had been killing each other for generations. Above ground, Krithak was learning an even harder lesson. His personal guard, the most elite hunters in 3 galaxies, were being systematically eliminated by humans using tactics developed in 100 urban conflicts. "Sir, Krithak is cornered on the 35th floor of the U.S. Bank Tower." Martins moved to his backup position, watching through his scope as the legendary hunter realized he was alone. His golden armor was scratched and dented, his stealth systems flickering from damage. "You cannot comprehend this," Krithak's voice boomed across their captured frequencies. "We are the apex predators of the galaxy. We cannot be hunted." "That's where you're wrong," Martins replied calmly. "Humans turned urban warfare into an art form long before you showed up. Every city on Earth is a fortress, every citizen a potential soldier. You're not hunting prey in our cities, Krithak. You're trespassing in our jungle." The explosion that finally took down Krithak wasn't particularly dramatic. Just precisely calculated demolition charges, placed by engineers who'd spent decades learning how to drop buildings in urban combat. As the dust settled, Martinez's radio crackled with Dr. Miller's voice. "Colonel, please tell me you got combat footage of their elite units." "Every second, Doc. Their best hunters just got schooled in urban warfare by a species they thought was primitive." "Perfect. Because the real hunt, it's about to begin." "Found it." Katie Gadget Reynolds' excited voice echoed through the underground lab. The Air Force tech specialist held up what looked like a crystalline shard from the captured alien armor. "Dr. Miller, you need to see this." Jessica Miller rushed over to the analysis station, her eyes widening as she studied the readings. "This isn't just armor. It's a neural interface." "Better than that," Katie grinned, adjusting her oil-stained safety glasses. "It's their hunting computer. And guess what? It's got millions of years of evolutionary programming hardwired into it." The lab, hastily assembled in an old missile silo, was littered with pieces of alien technology. Each fragment told part of a story, one that was becoming clearer by the hour. "Look at these patterns." Jessica pointed to the neural activity displays. "They're identical to Earth's apex predators, just like we theorized. But there's something else." She trailed off, her face paling. "Doc." "Katie, pull up humanity's evolutionary data. Focus on our hunting patterns from the Paleolithic period." The screens filled with comparative data. Katie whistled low. "Well, that's different. That's why we're winning," Jessica breathed. "The Krixthur evolved as ambush predators. Everything about them, their technology, their tactics, even their neural architecture, is optimized for single, devastating attacks." She pulled up footage from recent battles. "But humans, we evolved as persistence hunters. We're not optimized for the kill. We're optimized for the chase." Their radio crackled. "Dr. Miller," Captain Thompson's voice cut in. "We've got multiple hunter teams retreating from Chicago. But they're not falling back to orbit. They're trying to establish new hunting grounds in the suburbs." "Let them," Jessica replied, her eyes locked on the data. "Captain, I need you to maintain pursuit. Don't engage directly, just keep them moving." "Can you do that?" "Already on it, Doc. These bastards don't like being followed. They keep trying to set ambushes, but we just bypass and continue pursuit. They're getting sloppy." Katie's hands flew across her keyboard, correlating new data. Their neural patterns are showing increasing stress signatures. They literally can't handle being hunted this way. The lab's main screen lit up with a transmission from the Krixthur fleet. High Hunter Vakrin's voice had lost its earlier confidence. "This pursuit must cease. You violate all natural laws of predation. No prey continues to hunt after failed attacks. No prey pursues its hunters." "We're not prey," Jessica broadcast back. "We're something you've never encountered before. A predator species that evolved differently than you." She pulled up new tactical displays, showing human forces worldwide maintaining constant pressure on the alien hunters, never directly engaging, just pursuing relentlessly. Their entire civilization is built on being the perfect ambush predator, Katie realized. But against persistence hunters. "They have no defense," Jessica nodded. "Humanity spent millions of years evolving the ability to track prey for days, to think ahead, to coordinate in groups, to adapt tactics on the move. We don't need to be faster or stronger. We just need to keep coming." The tactical displays showed the pattern repeating globally. Alien hunters, trying to establish ambush positions, being forced to move again and again by human pursuit teams that never gave them time to set up. "Dr." Thompson's voice returned. "They're breaking formation. Individual hunters are trying to flee in different directions. Their pack cohesion is dissolving," Jessica explained. "They've never experienced prolonged fear before, never had to deal with being hunted. Their neural architecture can't handle it." Katie's console beeped with new data. "Doc, look at these stress readings. Their bodies are burning out trying to maintain combat readiness. They're physiologically incapable of handling extended pursuit." Jessica keyed her global command channel. All units maintain pursuit protocols. Do not, repeat, do not allow them to rest or regroup. Humanity didn't become Earth's dominant species by being the strongest or fastest. We did it by being the ones who never stopped coming. The screen showed alien hunters worldwide beginning to break down, their perfect armor glitching, their coordinated tactics falling apart, their legendary hunting prowess crumbling in the face of something they'd never evolved to handle. The psychological pressure of being relentlessly hunted by prey that simply refused to stop. You know what the scariest part is? Katie asked, watching the data stream in. What's that? We're just getting started. Tom Wrench Bradley wiped sweat from his forehead, leaving a streak of alien hydraulic fluid across his skin. The former NASCAR mechanic turned National Guard engineer hadn't slept in 48 hours, but sleep was the last thing on his mind. Not when he was this close. Run it again, he ordered his team, watching as they powered up the captured alien shield generator. The device hummed, creating a shimmering field of energy. But this time, it wasn't failing like before. Holy shit, his assistant breathed. It's holding. Because we stopped thinking like them. Tom grinned, checking the readouts. Their shields are designed for perfect instant protection. One and done, just like their hunting style. But we'd rebuilt it to work like human armor instead. The modified shield flickered and flexed, absorbing impacts in layers rather than trying to create a perfect barrier. It wasn't as immediately impressive as the alien version, but it could take sustained punishment without failing. His secure phone buzzed. Bradley here. Tom, it's Dr. Miller. Please tell me you've got good news. We've got multiple manufacturing plants ready to retool, but we need something they can actually build. Better than good news, Doc. He transmitted the schematics. We've cracked their shield tech, but we did something they'll never expect. We made it worse. There was a pause. Worse. More human, he corrected. Their shields try to be perfect. One hit from the right angle, and the whole thing fails. Ours bend, flex, adapt, just like we do. Like the difference between a glass wall and a boxing guard, Miller caught on. They're trying to create perfect protection, while we're building something that can take a beating and keep going. Tom finished. And here's the best part. We can make these with existing factory tools. The alien tech just needs to be reprogrammed, not recreated. He could hear Miller relaying orders. Within minutes, manufacturing plants across the country began receiving his designs. The aliens had expected to find primitive industrial capabilities. Instead, they found a species that had perfected mass production over centuries of warfare. Time estimate for first units? Miller asked. Tom watched his prototype absorbing punishment that would have shattered the original alien version. Hours, not days. We've got automotive plants that can retool faster than these aliens can adapt their tactics, and that's not all we got coming. His team was already testing the next innovation. Hybrid weapons that combined alien energy technology with human ballistic principles. The aliens had built their weapons to be perfect killing tools. Humans were building weapons that could keep firing long after they should have failed. They're launching another attack wave, Miller reported, trying to stop our manufacturing capabilities. Let them come, Tom grinned, watching the first batch of hybrid weapons roll off his test line. Every time they attack, we learn more about their tech. Every piece they lose, we adapt. They're fighting a war of attrition against a species that turned industrial warfare into a science. His phone lit up with reports from other facilities. Across the country, human engineers were doing what they did best, taking advanced technology and finding ways to make it work better by making it work simpler. Sir, one of his techs called out. We've got confirmed kills using the prototype weapons. The modified shields are working exactly as designed. They're burning through their energy trying to maintain perfect barriers, while ours just keep absorbing damage. The factory floor shook as alien weapons hit the building's outer defenses. But Tom just smiled, watching his production lines spin up to full speed. The aliens were about to learn another hard lesson about humanity. They weren't just fighting soldiers. They were fighting an entire industrial civilization that had spent centuries preparing for war. Dr. Miller, he keyed his comm, tell command that the first wave of hybrid weapons is ready for deployment. And let them know something else. What's that? The aliens made their tech perfect. He watched as crate after crate of weapons moved toward the loading docks. We're making ours tough. And in a long fight. Tough beats perfect every time. Because that was humanity's real strength. Not in being the best, but in finding ways to keep fighting long after the best had failed. Commander Rachel Storm Davidson had never seen anything more beautiful than Earth's orbital defense grid coming online. Hundreds of satellites, hastily retrofitted with Bradley's hybrid weapons, gleaming in the sunlight. The Kriegsthur fleet hung above them, their biomechanical ships still imposing but no longer invincible. All squadron leaders, report in. She commanded from her modified SpaceX command vessel. The ship's controls felt natural under her fingers. 15 years of combat flight experience translated surprisingly well to space warfare. Red Squadron, standing by. Blue Squadron, ready. Green Squadron, armed and eager. Each voice represented a mix of military pilots and civilian space program veterans. NASA astronauts flew alongside Air Force pilots, their crafts cobbled together from everything humanity could throw into orbit within the past 72 hours. Command, this is Davidson. Operation Thunderstrike is go. Acknowledged, Commander. Dr. Miller's voice came through. Satellite grid is at full power. Remember, their ships follow the same neural architecture as their hunters. They can't effectively track multiple threats simultaneously. Davidson smiled. Good thing we brought plenty of threats. The first wave of human ships launched, not in the precise formations the aliens expected, but in the chaotic, unpredictable patterns that humanity had perfected through centuries of aerial combat. They're responding exactly as predicted, her tactical officer reported. Their ships are trying to lock onto individual targets. Execute attack pattern Delta, Davidson ordered. Show them why you don't dogfight with a species that invented dogfighting. The space around Earth erupted in chaos. Human ships darted between alien vessels, forcing them to constantly switch targets. The retrofitted satellites added to the confusion, creating a three-dimensional battlefield that overwhelmed the Kriegsthur's hunting-based combat systems. Mime. Their flagship is launching hunters directly into space. Davidson watched as armored alien forms emerge, trying to treat space like another hunting ground. Big mistake. Lieutenant Santos, show them why humans own the void. Santos, a former X-Games snowboarder turned space warfare specialist, led his team in what could only be described as orbital guerrilla warfare. The aliens, used to three-dimensional hunting in atmosphere, couldn't adapt to the pure physics of space combat. They're breaking formation, her tactical officer called out. Multiple ships attempting emergency FTL jumps. Not happening, Davidson grinned. Activate the gravity net. Bradley's latest innovation sprang to life. A web of modified gravitational sensors that turned the aliens' own FTL technology against them. Ships attempting to jump found themselves trapped in conflicting gravitational fields. High Hunter Vakrin is broadcasting. The alien commander's voice shook with something humans had never heard in their species before. Pure terror. This is impossible. You were planet-bound primitives. Your space combat experience should be minimal. Should be, Davidson responded, guiding her ship through a maneuver that would have made her flight instructor proud. But humans didn't wait for aliens to teach us space combat. We've been practicing for it since we first looked up at the stars. She watched as another alien ship fell to coordinated fire from 3 different directions. Their perfect hunting formations were useless against humans who'd spent generations imagining exactly this kind of fight. Command, their fleet is in disarray, she reported. Request permission to launch final strike packages. Granted, Miller responded. Show them why humanity reached for the stars. The final phase of Operation Thunderstrike began. Every satellite, every ship, every weapons platform attacked simultaneously. The aliens' neural networks, overwhelmed by thousands of threat vectors, began to fail systemically. "Commander," her tactical officer called out. "Vokrin's flagship. It's making a run for the atmosphere. They're heading straight for NASA headquarters." Davidson checked her fuel reserves. "Perfect. All units, maintain orbital superiority. Storm Actual will handle the flagship personally." She turned her ship toward Earth, readying for atmospheric re-entry. The aliens were about to learn one final lesson about human space combat. They weren't just fighting pilots. They were fighting every dream, every simulation, every science fiction story that humanity had created about space warfare. "You know what the difference is between us and them," she broadcast to her squadrons as she began pursuit. "They evolved to be perfect hunters. We evolved to be whatever we needed to be to survive. And right now, we need to be better space fighters than them." The battle for Earth's orbit had begun, and humanity was just warming up. Vokrin's flagship burned through Earth's atmosphere, trailing plasma and debris. Commander Davidson pursued relentlessly, her ship's modified shields handling re-entry like they'd been built for it, which, in a way, they had. Humans had been preparing for atmospheric combat since the first jet broke the sound barrier. "All ground units, this is Storm Actual," she broadcast. "Target is making a final run on NASA headquarters. Dr. Miller, you've got company coming." "We're ready." Miller's voice was calm. "Colonel Thompson's Rangers are in position. Bradley's teams have the ground defenses hot. Just hurt him toward the kill zone." The massive alien vessel, once sleek and predatory, now showed the scars of orbital combat. Its biomechanical hull writhed as damage control systems fought a losing battle against human ingenuity. "You primitives." Vokrin's voice boomed across all frequencies. "You were supposed to be prey. How did you adapt so quickly? How did you learn our weaknesses? How did you turn everything against us?" "That's humanity's secret," Dr. Miller broadcast back. "We've spent our entire existence adapting, learning, evolving. Not to be perfect, but to be better. Every time you attacked, we didn't just survive. We learned." Vokrin's ship screamed over Washington, D.C., its weapons firing wildly. But humans had been fighting in 3 dimensions since before they had powered flight. Anti-aircraft batteries, modified with Bradley's hybrid technology, tracked the alien vessel with devastating accuracy. "Multiple hits," Davidson reported, staying on the flagship's tail. "He's losing altitude control. Thompson, he's coming right to you." The Rangers had transformed the area around NASA headquarters into a killing ground. Every lesson learned from the ground war, every piece of adapted alien technology, every human innovation was waiting. Vokrin must have realized it too late. His ship tried to pull up, to escape the trap. But that's when Katie Reynolds, manning the prototype neural disruptor, struck. Transmitting now. Her voice was tight with concentration. "Let's see how their neural architecture handles having every hunting instinct triggered simultaneously." The effect was instantaneous. Vokrin's ship jerked erratically, its biomechanical systems overwhelmed by conflicting predatory impulses. The mighty hunter reduced to confused prey. "All units, execute final protocol," Miller ordered. It was almost beautiful in a terrible way. Ground forces under Thompson fired hybrid weapons that bypassed the alien shields. Bradley's modified EMP devices disrupted their neural networks. Davidson's air support cut off any escape routes. And through it all, Reynolds' disruptor kept their systems in chaos. Vokrin's flagship, the pride of the Krixthur hunting fleet, crashed less than a mile from NASA headquarters. The impact was relatively gentle. They wanted this one intact. "Surrender," Miller broadcast as human forces surrounded the wreck. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your hunters are defeated. Your neural networks are compromised. It's over." The ship's main hatch opened slowly. The Kryn emerged, his golden armor dented and scarred. The mighty hunter stood on Earth's soil for the first time, surrounded by the species he thought would be easy prey. How? His translated voice carried genuine bewilderment. We are the perfect hunters. We have culled 300 species. We cannot be defeated by prey. Thompson stepped forward, his rangers flanking him. That's where you made your mistake. Humans were never prey. We're predators who chose to be more than just hunters. Miller approached the alien commander, flanked by Bradley and Reynolds. Your species evolved to be the perfect ambush predator. And you are. But humanity, we evolved to adapt, to learn, to take every defeat, every victory, every experience, and become something new. And now, the Kryn's massive form seemed to shrink. Davidson landed nearby, emerging from her ship with her flight suits, still smoking from re-entry. Now you're going to evolve too. Because that's the real lesson here. It's not about being the perfect hunter. It's about being willing to change. The sun rose over NASA headquarters, illuminating the gathered human forces, soldiers and scientists, engineers and pilots, all standing together. Not just victorious, but transformed. Earth's defenders had become something new, something that combined human adaptability with alien technology in ways the Krixthur had never imagined possible. Welcome to Earth, Miller said to the defeated hunter. Let's talk about evolution.